approaching 1:30, so I will be calling this meeting to order. If everyone could stand, we'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, good afternoon to everyone. Today, it is now 1:30. I'm calling this meeting of the Golf Committee of January 9th, 2025 to order at 1:30 in the afternoon. A quorum has been established. We have all 9 members of the committee and our 2 staff members are present. And I will now read the standard meeting procedures that we've adopted here in Sun City West. The governing board conducts all of its meetings, including committee meetings, in compliance with the Arizona open meeting laws per Arizona Revised Statute Section 33-1804 and in concert with the Recreation Centers of Sun City West bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures, as outlined in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Orders, will also be followed consistent with Bylaw 3.07 and Standing Rules 2 and 3. All questions and comments are directed to committee chairperson. All comments are entertained at the discretion of the committee chairperson. Speakers shall state their name and member number and speak in a courteous manner. The committee chairperson may limit commentary time and the number of commentators or speakers on any issue. The committee chairperson also may redirect commentary at individual agenda items to the general guest comments agenda line item, except when committee has discussed the agenda item and consensus or agreement is sought. All fire and room safety precautions and regulations are strictly obeyed at all meetings per the guidance of the Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. The committee chairperson reserves the right to adjourn any meeting if the safety of the committee, meeting attendees, or others is deemed at risk, or if there is too much disruption to continue. After one verbal warning by the chairperson, the committee chairperson also reserves the right to ask any meeting attendees to leave any meeting should their behavior be deemed dangerous or unacceptable. Disciplinary action may follow. On to our meeting business. Our first order is approval of the November 7th Golf Committee meeting minutes as there was no meeting, November 7th as there was no meeting in December. Have anyone had a chance to review the minutes and are any changes needed to be made? Hearing none, the minutes will be placed on file as written. Okay, our next order of business, 3.01, Mr. Pat O'Hara, Golf Operations Manager.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. Got a few slides here to get us caught up through December. Let's make sure this is on. All right. So this is an overview of our tournament schedule for the upcoming 25 season. Golf Expo today at 3 o'clock. Rudy, you going to be there? Okay, all right. So it's going to be over at Stardust. This is a chance for our community to see what we have to offer as far as golf. We'll have our charter clubs there. We've got a few vendors, Golf Ops, Green Team. Got a couple contests, a couple food trucks, and a live band. So it's all happening at Stardust, starting at 3 o'clock. This month, we also have our couples therapy event. It's on January 18th. It's over at Echo Mesa. That's been sold out, so we're excited about that one. And then the New Orleans Bowl Scramble, the Super Bowl Scramble, Saturday, February 8th over at Trail Ridge. That also has been filled out. Coming up, the men's match play in March. And just a reminder, everybody, we send out these entry forms, this notice 6 weeks in advance of the tournament. If you're not receiving any of those notices, please let us know and we'll put you on our database and get you informed. Couple tournaments that we've had, or a couple events that we've had since last time we got together. We had the turkey shoot night putting in November. This is around the Thanksgiving time every year. 72 players. Had it over at Pebblebrook this year. We try to alternate between Pebblebrook and Echo Mesa because of the size of the putting greens, the practice greens, and it was well received. If you haven't been over there to see this is pretty neat. Lit up the way it is, 18 holes, and next slide kind of shows you the scoring for that. So good time was had by all. We also, just a footnote here, I'll go back. This is kind of historical for us. Well, excuse me, I stand corrected. It's at our night tournament. This one at Pebblebrook. This one is also well received. Had 104 players. They play 9 holes on each side, 2 different flights. And this is the one that was historic. We had a hole-in-one, not really a hole-in-one. We had a putt of 30 feet at night, and Ken Ramsey won a $500 gift card. So that's the first one we've given out since 2012, believe it or not. So maybe we'll see a bunch more of those. So congratulations to Ken. And that, too, is also kind of a neat look. That's over at 4 tee box, or no, that might be 8 green looking down 5 and 6, but that's a good look of the lake over there at Pebblebrook. A lot of setup, a lot of time for that. Call center, I believe Paul Gruza gave this slide to the governing board and our staff on Monday. Call center, we're looking at numbers. The numbers of calls coming into our call center versus last year have dropped 17%. A lot of that has to do with the fact that our golfers are more self-sufficient with the online portal. They're able to book, adjust, modify their tee times. So we're looking at hours. We've broken it down into 2-hour increments to see what the peak hours are and what the slow times are. We're finding at 11 and 12 in the midday, it slows down a little bit, as does 4 to 5 o'clock. Wednesdays tend to be a slower day, but we tend to stay busy Saturday and Sunday morning. So we're looking at that to see what changes we can make and maybe go from a 2-person staff to a 1-person staff at times. So I'll keep you posted on that. All right, we've got a couple new slides. These are slides that were requested by the golf committee. We put 4 or 5 of them together and just wanted to share this information with you. Paid rounds over the last, what is that, five fiscal years. You'll see that it's broken out by golf course and year. And we've got a little footnote chart over here. You got to kind of read those charts with the course closures in mind. They go through cycles. So when we have a course closure in the summer, that's usually 90 or 100 day course closure. So you'll see some drop-offs. If you look at Grandview, for example, you'll see a little bit of a slowdown there when they did the bunker renovation, things of that nature. So even the irrigation. So I thought that was an interesting chart. This one, the next one is based upon tee time requests and lottery bookings. A couple interesting things about this. You can see that in the top slide, all the on the hour charts, what is that? What would we call that? On the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, what do we call that? I don't know what that is. What, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, even the 1:30 part of the chart, you can see how elongated they are. So people have a habit of putting in lottery requests on the hour. So you are allowed to put them on every quarter hour, but the majority of our residents put in a 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock lottery request. So there's a little bit of a tell there. If you put in 10:15 or 8:15, that's less likely or more likely to be picked. But the thing that's really interested here is the twilight times. In the top slide, you can see the blue or the purple. Those are requests for twilight tea times, which to me indicates that there's an interest in off-price green fees. But we also have a twilight card, annual card, and we've sold quite a few of those as well. Down below, you can see that it's more compact because those represent the tea times given. And so you can see it's spread out and they're smaller increments. So it kind of mirrors the request versus what was handed out. And that'll be explained a little further here. On this slide, these are the bumps. These are the people that didn't get a lottery request. Now, obviously, October and November, we've got overseating going on. We don't pre-book group play at that time, so everybody's in the mix. So high demand and low inventory. February tends to be a little busier. Weather's getting quite a bit better, less number of days in the month. So it becomes a little bit more competitive as well.
Rudy? Can we just go back to the slide there, Pat?
There?
Yeah. Percentages don't help me. I mean, they're nice, but order of magnitude would be actual numbers of people that got bumped.
Right. Now, and we can give you that.
Idea what it's within.
Right. Now, one of the things that's out of our control, meaning that it wouldn't show the efficiency of the lottery, is because we can't control what you put in. So case in point, you put in a lottery request and say, I want to play at 8 and 808, and I only want to play at Deer Valley, you're going to get bumped, but your window or your course selection wasn't wide enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I would still like to know order of magnitude, and then if you wanted to drill down
Sure.
the next level, you could do that. But
Okay.
the percentage, I don't find this real helpful.
Okay.
I do see October and November, what the issues are there. Yeah.
So the takeaway I would have on this is July. 97.8% of the lottery requests got approved, got selected. So if you got bumped 2.2% in July, 97.8% of the people got their request filled. Okay? Okay.
On the twilight play, what percentage is non-resident and resident?
So this is all resident because it's the lottery.
On the even like the slide before that?
Right.
Well,
That's all resident right there.
that wouldn't be entirely true because I can book a lottery with outside guests in.
Correct, but it had to originate with a resident. So if you're asking if it's one person, one resident and 3 guests, is that what you're asking?
No, I was asking what percentage of twilight times are reserved by residents and the ratio to non-residents. In other words, are non-residents the major booking of twilight times?
No, residents are the major booking of twilight times because this is a reflection of all residents and their guests. Public isn't in this.
Okay.
Public can't go through the lottery unless they're with a resident.
So these are just lottery requests made for
Residents and their guests, correct. So public isn't a part of this equation here. Yes,
Is that 7 days a week we're looking at here? Or or Monday to Friday?
correct. So this is 7 days a week. And that's 7 days a week as well. Yes, sir.
Pat, do you know by chance of these people that were bumped, how many were actually assigned a tea time when the call center calls them and says, here's what's available?
No, we don't. At this point in time, we don't track that. We track it with paper and pencil, but, and that's a good question, Tim. And what Tim's referring to is once we get the list that shows the people that get, our residents that get booked, we have a staff member that calls everybody up. So if Tim Hurley got bumped on a particular day, Tom in my office is calling him up and say, hey, Mr. Hurley, I see that you got bumped. This is what I have left for that day, closest to your times. Are you interested in that? Yay or nay? And what we find, Tim, is a lot of times we have to leave a message and then they call back. And if they don't call back before that person leaves, they have to wait until they can book online at midnight.
I've even had them where they've bumped me and they've called me a couple of times. They know I'll take another time. They've automatically given me a later time. So they're pretty good at that.
Yeah, very good. Glad to hear that. So Kathy, did that answer your question as far as what you needed? Okay. All right, then we had a request for some cart revenue and cart usage information. This is, we're trying to figure out how to best display this. And again, we've got a little cheat sheet or a footnote down here in the lower right because that's important to understand the closures. But I find it really interesting how consistent these numbers are from year to year and from month to month. So you can see the total amounts of cart rentals down in the bottom table and the revenue associated with that. And this just kind of plots it out and shows you each fiscal year. So obviously cart rentals are tied in with rounds of golf. I will say that Grandview is our largest fleet, so they tend to get most of the traffic as well. And then my executive courses have smaller fleets. And then this is tied into month, cart usage per month. And then this goes hand in hand with rounds of golf. So March is up there at the top. That's my most productive month. So you'll see more cart rentals up there. And again, course closures play a big deal in that as well. And then the final grid, if you will, annual primetime occupancy. We didn't calculate the 2025 fiscal year in any of these calculations over to the right. We wanted to wait until we got a full year to calculate it. I will bring your attention to a couple things. There's actually a cell in there that had 100.8%. Did you see that on 2021 in October at Deer Valley? It had a higher than 100% fill, and that was because the way the tee sheets were configured on a particular Wednesday, we had more players than we did because they have a double shotgun there. So it was overfilled based upon peak rates because they do two shotguns. And then you saw some zeros in there because the course was closed, usually summer closures. But I wanted to bring attention to the industry average. 64% is a good fill rate for tee times. And then that bottom right grid, that's taken all the months out of those 4 fiscal years and averaging them together. So there's a lot of good data on this slide right here. Yeah, Tim?
Pat, where did you get that 64%?
National Golf Foundation.
Because I was on their website and it showed for Scottsdale, it's more like 43%.
Oh, right. I haven't seen that one. Okay. Was that here recently? Okay.
Pat,
Yeah.
Just to be clear on prime time, is your prime time then 8 until 4?
So when we go into different pricing levels, that's the start of a new pricing level or like a twilight time. So our prime time is 8 until 1:22 currently in this month. And then it goes 1:30 to 2:52, which is twilight, and then 3 o'clock is super twilight.
So this is just showing 8 until 1:30.
Correct.
If you're saying prime time. I
Correct.
think it would be good to put a footnote in here or something.
So,
Because
and
this has been part of the issue with trying to get tea times.
so we've got to, internally, the way we distinguish it or think about it is an 8, a 10, a 12 o'clock tea time has more value than a 3 o'clock tea time because you're not going to get 18 in at 3 o'clock. Yeah.
I was
So,
just
so we were trying
asking
to,
what the time frame was.
okay,
Yeah, I get it.
but we can put that together as well.
Just to be clear then, this is 8 to 1:30.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So say again, where did you get the industry average data?
National Golf Foundation, NGF.
And would their prime time be similar? Or are we comparing a little bit of apples and oranges?
So this organization follows golf statewide, regionally, throughout the country, and then it breaks it into areas. And this is the information that was given to me for our particular Sunbelt area.
So you don't really know how it's broken down by time, or if it is?
So each
Because they're
course,
just giving you a percentage.
right, each course has different
So it might be
parameters.
an apples to oranges comparison.
So typically they go prime, twilight, and super twilight, and this was their prime. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on those?
No, just a comment, as I was doing some research on occupancy, some of the things that I found said occupancy is calculated from a half hour after sunrise to a half hour before sunset.
Yeah.
So the whole day.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So that could be a little reason why we were seeing a little variance in what our two numbers are. This, to me, going through what I read, was truly peak or high dollar green fee value. Okay. And then I don't know if, Chairman, if you want to talk me to go into the dress code real quickly? Yeah, please go ahead. Okay. So this is kind of a recap of our last meeting. I just wanted to kind of revisit this a little bit. The reason why we're looking at this is we haven't really touched it since 2017. I have a couple ideas that we need to modify this a little bit. Fashions have changed a little bit. Want to get everybody's input on it. These are our challenges currently. We do allow denim during, typically we see it in the cooler months. We're seeing an uptick in men's gym shorts is what we're seeing. We also don't have it in looking through our dress code really spelled out that it's also required at our driving range and practice greens, which I'd like to clarify as well. The ladies have a couple options here. And then I just put, these are my, which I presented last meeting, these are my thoughts on it. But I also wanted to put comments. I asked for comments, and these are what I got back at our last meeting. And again, I think sometimes it's easier to tell people what not to wear than it is to what to wear. So again, it's nothing that we have to finalize by any means today. I just would like to try to move forward with this and tighten it up just a little bit so my staff can enforce some of the challenges that they have. Todd's had a few challenges this year with overseating, but I really think our fairways have come in really nice. And I'm hoping that we're really trying to influence our groups to use the 90-degree cart path rule whenever we can. I think the more we do that, the better the conditions will continue to be. So again, I'm beating the drum on the 15 feet for the medical flag, 30 feet for everybody else. If there's a cart path closer, please use it. Sometimes we see carts that just have to have 4 wheels in grass, and I find that interesting. So whatever you can do to encourage your playing partners would be greatly appreciated. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Any additional questions from any committee members?
Pat, I just wanted to recognize the player assistant on Sunday afternoon at Deer Valley. He was very considerate, he was very courteous, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't know he was around, but I was in the middle and I had some stuff in my bottle, so I'm just, waiting for other people. I'm spreading it around, and he came around, and I didn't know you still did this.
Yeah.
As far as handing out cards
Right.
of saying thank you, or you were noticed, or whatever they were.
Right.
But
Well,
anyway, he was very courteous. And
Well, thanks for doing
I
that.
didn't catch his name. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
But I told him I was going to give some kudos to you.
Well,
so.
thanks. What Julie's referencing is we've got a little program, because a lot of times when it's like an officer pulling you over for speeding or whatever, it's always going to be a bad conversation, right? So sometimes when a PA comes up there, he notices a golfer doing good things, raking a bunker for somebody, fixing ball marks, trying to keep the group up with the group in front of them. So we've got a little card. It's a business card. It's a PAR card. It's an acronym for Players Acting Responsibly. And if they hand those out, it's a bucket of balls, and it's just a way of saying thanks for doing what you need to be doing. So I appreciate that. I'll pass that on.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? I'm going to go to the audience. Sir?
My name is Michael Burr, 120549. And I'm just curious, since you were showing all those charts about tee times and how many people are filling them and whatnot, what's the volume of play during the summertime at the executive courses in the afternoon?
Definitely have more inventory than we do golfers.
So my question would be, has anyone considered, let's say, closing the executive courses at 2 o'clock during June, July, and August? And the people that wanted to play the executive courses are certainly welcome to play the green tees on the championship courses. I have a twilight card. Mm-hmm. Typically, I go out around 12, 12:30 in the afternoon, and I can tell you over this past summer, I did not even pass 30 people. So it's not as if the people that want to play the green tees would be in the way of anybody else, because there's not a big volume of people really at 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon on the championship courses. And while everyone is always talking about somehow saving money, there is certainly an amount of money to be saved if you close some courses in the afternoon, and these people could play the championship courses. So this would affect really nobody, and the community could possibly save some money by doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, things that I would weigh against that is, we've got an amenity component to this organization where we have facilities that we're trying to let people use. And if you live at Desert Trails and you close that golf course, now you're having to drive to Deer Valley or across town. The cost that we have typically for golf is a fixed cost, mowing the greens, setting it up. We only have 1 or 2 people that are working. So the payroll would be very little, I would think. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we could look at, sure.
Yeah, but as far as, let's say, driving across town, so to speak, and the amenities, so to speak, there are still golf courses that are available to people. And whether you get in your golf cart, and I live near Grandview, and whether I drive to Grandview or Deer Valley, which is the furthest place, the only difference is the charge on my scooter. So it's really negligible to do that. But the thing is, we're trying to find ways, I believe, for this community to save money without affecting residents.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis Hansel, 111074. And Pat, I was wondering if you've been able to tell if the amount of outside play has decreased since the rate increased.
You know, we had an influx of play starting this fiscal year. We had a really good July and August. Then we saw a little bit of a downturn in outside play. It's coming back. But as far as we try to run those, especially, we don't look at those numbers too closely, especially during overseating because of the availability and courses closed and things of that nature. But that's something we will look at and keep tuned, and we'll give you some answers to that. Okay?
And I think I asked this the last time. What is your ability to change rates? What's the time frame?
And I think you're referencing dynamic pricing.
Yes.
So we do have, and I'm sure you're aware of it, Dennis, that we do have a rate sheet that's approved by the governing board. We do have the ability to have GM specials. Those are usually short-term type windows. We do not participate in dynamic pricing at this time. Again, I think we need to have a couple conversations along those lines because we want to make sure we protect our residents' rates. And sometimes it's okay to have an open tea time, believe it or not, because that kind of keeps the flow of play going. So something we can look at, and we have started the discussion in that area.
Okay, if no further, do we have any? No online comments. Go right ahead.
Hi, Pat. I have some totally unrelated questions.
Okay.
But they're from previous discussions that we've had.
Okay.
My first one is furniture.
Furniture, okay.
Furniture.
Yeah.
So 2025 budget looks like everybody has had their fill. Desert Trails was allocated 20 grand and they've been redone, new awning, new furniture, same with Deer Valley. They were allocated 15,000. Echo Mesa, Trail Ridge, Pebblebrook all have new furniture with a 10,000 allocation. There was 10,000 in the budget for Grandview. I think we might have 6 new chairs.
Right.
So this is still, I'm going back to that hazardous white tables, sketchy chairs on a downslope in the parking lot, out in the sun
Sure.
for the golfers. And where did that $10,000 go and why don't we have new furniture?
So a lot of that furniture is dictated by the Crooked Putter because that's their operation over there. We're not obligated to supply them with any furniture. I think since we've gotten our new furniture, I've had a conversation and asked Jeff what he needs over there. I believe we've added 4 or 5 tables, if I'm not mistaken. It's the old patio furniture. It might even be the new stuff. I'm not sure which one it is. Is it the old one, Julie?
It's not new.
Okay.
I don't see any new.
Okay. So definitely something we can look at, but I would need to have that conversation with Jeff.
So the lease with the Crooked Putter is the whole patio area as well? Or who's responsible for that patio area?
That is my understanding. It's the Crooked Putter.
Okay, so is there perhaps an area like you did for Desert Trails and Deer Valley that you can put the tarp or whatever the awning
Sure.
was, and a spot that you can designate to the golfers
Right.
at Grandview?
Yeah, a little history on the Crooked Putter. It wasn't that many years ago. We approached Jeff and said, hey, Jeff, we're looking at remodeling the Crooked Putter because we think that would be helpful to you. And he goes, are you going to remodel the kitchen and make it bigger? And we said, no. He says, it doesn't matter. Then I don't need any more space because I can only put out so much food. We were going to look at enclosing where the pillars were, kind of make that. But he goes, it doesn't matter because I can't put out any more food. So unless we do an overhaul with my kitchen, it's for naught. So he knows that there's some limited spacing and abilities there, but again, I just need to have a conversation with him, and he'll drive that. We'll try to help him however we can. And to your point, I'm not a big believer in that white tables and folding chairs. Fish fry and burger night, I'm sure, right? So yeah, that'll be a conversation we can have.
So maybe the 10,000 that's been allocated, which obviously hasn't been spent there, could be upgrading those lousy white tables and lousy white chairs. You know what I mean? Something a little bit more that are folding, and storage available. I don't know. I'm just wondering why
Sure.
everybody else has got nice sitting and we're
Right.
hurting after a round of golf.
Right,
That's-
so that food and beverage component is not ours. That's not our profit center, if you will.
Right?
Ours are, right? So we're just taking care of the ones that we,
But there was still $10,000 in that budget and it has not got there.
right, and we spent well less than that on what we
Right.
purchased.
Right. So we'll put that to the side for now. A couple of other things.
Okay,
Totally different, not related. Over the years, many, many ladies have said, why can we not move the red tees on the number 1 tee box at Trail Ridge over to where the white are? It's the same distance. The white and the gold tee box are on the right-hand side, and the red are on the left.
okay,
Much more difficult shot from the red, or even to switch it up now and then, because it is exactly the same distance. So just food for thought.
okay.
These are just comments that have, in the last 2 months, been brought to my attention.
Sure.
My only other comment is, a few months ago, I helped with the men's shotgun over at Pebblebrook for Men's Day.
Okay,
And the men leaving the parking lot
yeah,
was mayhem. As lots, probably at most men's days or any time, if there's not the little cones where people know where they're going,
right,
because they're all allocated holes. And then I know in the past, because I still see the writing in the parking lots that had 1, 1B, 2.
Deer Valley comes to mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So would it be so hard to do that? Wouldn't need those cones anymore. Every time there's a shotgun somewhere, like Men's Day,
Right,
they know what hole they're on. It's been given to them. Paint those numbers. They all pull in. They all leave.
so both men's and ladies charter clubs, events, we take direction from them.
Okay.
So if they would like to have something like that, absolutely.
All right.
It hasn't been requested.
But we have quite a few tournaments that in this community, along with, I'm thinking Choya, for instance. There's 3 times you've got 100 ladies here throughout the year at the various courses. Makes life a lot easier. You don't have people, they can pull in. There's lots of room to write those numbers. I'm just thinking a little more efficiency, that's all.
Sure. So Choya, they invite us to help. And so that's what we bring to the table, is those things. But we don't want to overstep our bounds and say, okay, Grandview ladies, you need to run your events this way because Golf Op said so. It's your club. We're there to help, to support, but we need to be asked. I'm not going to go in there and,
No, I know, but they're all allocated at tea time. That's all I'm saying, to make it easier
Sure.
for all groups.
absolutely.
All the time, to know that, especially within another few months, if those numbers were painted, the guy's pulling in on a Wednesday, oh, I'm on 11, I know where that spot is, there I go. I
Right.
go park.
Yeah, and I think that those have always been painted because they've utilized them in the past. Here's a great example. Anybody play in Trail Ridge Men's Club here? January, they're doing shotguns. They're doing a double shotgun. Typically, they do a double T. And so they were concerned because they don't do shotguns. They don't like shotguns. Their membership has grown such that they have to do shotguns. And so they requested us, hey, can you put out the cones? Can you help us with this? Absolutely. I called Christine, who was their organizer, their monitor. I said, how'd it go yesterday? She goes, it went great. Everything went great. And so they're warming up to the shotgun because they see the socialization occurring. Great things. But and again, I'll open that to everybody. If any of the charter clubs need things like that, absolutely, we'd love to provide that. But I'm not going to go in there and be that bull in the china shop and say, you got to do it this way. I won't do that. But we have the tools. We do have the tools. Okay?
Mr. Miller.
So Pat,
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure this is really a you question as opposed to maybe a Steven question. Okay, so Vanessa, I think I heard her voice a safety concern over the quality of the furniture. And I'm going back to my past life here. Okay. Whose furniture is the white stuff? Is it ours or is it the restaurant's?
Restaurants.
Okay, so if somebody gets hurt in our parking lot sitting on one of those chairs and it collapses, is that the restaurant's problem or our problem?
Well, I'm sure we'd be involved in that. Absolutely. They'll go wherever that money is, for sure.
Yeah.
So there's probably a joint responsibility to that. Again, the history on the Crooked Putter, it was 10 years ago. We actually made a commitment and bought them some furniture, and that aluminum tables and chairs that you see out there is the remnants of that. Things broke, things got in disrepair, and we pushed it back to them and said, you know, we set you up at one time. From now on, it's your responsibility to have those tables and chairs for your operation. And that's where it has been for the last 7 or 8 years. So as chairs break, they replaced them. And as you guys know, they don't fill the patio all the way down to the golf shop. They kind of stop at the restrooms and fill that other area. But if this is, and it sounds like it's a major concern, let me get in front of Jeff and let's see what we can do to make it a little bit better looking, a little safer. And
Yeah, because the $10,000 investment, which we apparently have already put on the books to buy additional furniture, that's a cheap insurance compared to what
Sure.
we might end up paying if somebody gets hurt.
sure.
Okay, can we have you look into that? And
I will.
come back.
I'll have a
Okay.
report for you.
All righty. With any other comments from the audience? Because we have nothing online. We'll move on to our next item of business, which is Mr. Todd Patty, Environmental Services.
All right, good afternoon. Real quick, Vanessa, to follow up on your concern about the red tea over at Trail Ridge and moving that over, I can make that happen. Okay, so yeah, I know there's been certain times that we've moved that over there, you know, right on the very front of it. So you say it makes it a little bit easier if it's over on that? Okay, is that because of the elevation? Or is it? Yeah, it's more straight on than over there. Okay, all right. I'll get with the crew over there and see what we can do. So, okay, I just want to do that. All right, again, good afternoon. Just a couple updates today. Annual water usage report for 2024 and the ADWR 25 Fifth Management Plan conservation allotment, a little bit of a change there. Echo Mesa project update, USGA site visit that we have scheduled for a little bit later this year. And then later on in the agenda, we have our capital budget review for the golf division. So with that, all right, so our golf course, this is how we ended up this year with our water usage, 3858 total for all 7 golf courses. And this is within the 4th management plan. You can see our allotment. We did end up 39 acre feet under our allotment this year, which is pretty impressive because of the lack of rainfall. I think at one of our meetings, I showed you all the records that we've set, and we're still setting records right now. I think we set a record this week for a high temperature. It's just unbelievable. So it just continues. So that works out to be about 5.5 acre feet per golf course that we're under. So we're in good shape this year. And then you've seen this slide before. This is 15 years of water usage going back to 2010. And you can see that we've been under our conservation allotments now for 12 years in a row. And I say this all the time. I think this is this speaks a lot to the projects that we've had over the years, irrigation, shoreline projects, and those kind of things. Grandview's desert landscape that we installed, the 45 acres, and I'll touch on that in just a minute. But if you look at the rainfall, we recorded 3.43 inches this year, pretty weak, and we're able to still stay under our allotment. So, I credit again to our water management, our guys. We have new technology out there with our irrigation systems, and that's just going to continue. We have the irrigation project coming up at Echo Mesa starting in April. I'm really excited about that just because you see the results over at Grandview. What a system, and we're not having to make repairs daily like we were before. We're able to really dial that system in and get precise watering out there, good distribution. And we're really lacking that at Echo Mesa as the other golf courses. So I'm really excited about getting that project underway this year. And then Grandview, again, I think I've kind of updated this a little bit, but this is how we ended up at the end of the year. I'm using 2022 as a comparison, not last year, because 23 was our project year. So it's not a fair comparison because we had to have the water off quite a bit over there to do the project. So comparing 22 to 24, we only ended up 32 acre feet under last the water usage on 2022. So it doesn't sound like a lot. But again, I'm going to go back to the year that we had, the heat, the record heat, and no rainfall. Monsoon season, I think we recorded 0.43 in the total monsoon season. And we usually really rely on the monsoon season to give us some good rainfall to where we can shut the systems down for 3 or 4 days at a time. And that saves a lot of water during the summer months. Because if, like in June and July, if you're putting 1 million gallons of water out per night, it's a huge savings to get that monsoon rainfall in here and shut the systems down, well pump and distribution center. So I think I would expect that this coming year, 25, I think our savings at Grandview is going to be double that, providing we have a normal year as far as rainfall and temperatures. I don't know what a normal year is anymore. And then I mentioned the fifth management plan, ADWRs, that rolled out at the beginning of this year. And dropped our allotment down to 3863 acre feet. And again, that's for all 7 golf courses. And that's about a 34 acre foot reduction from the 4th management plan. But even with that, we would have been under our conservation allotment this year with that 34. So I feel real confident that we're going to just continue this being where we're under our conservation allotment going forward, especially with the Grandview project. And now we're bringing the Echo Mesa project on board. So that's going to be another savings as well. And just a quick update on the Echo Mesa irrigation. This is phase 1. We still have the pump station to install. We're looking at February 11th for that. As you know, we did hold off on that. We were going to install that this summer, but with the heat, we just didn't, and lack of rainfall, we didn't want to take that station offline. So we decided to push that out. We have our second public forum here in the lecture hall on February 14th, Valentine's Day, from 1 to 3. The first forum that we had was kind of light. It was kind of a light audience. I think we had 10 people show up. So anyway, not too many questions. So you want to put that on your books to attend. And then our project start date is still the same, Monday, April 7th. And as I mentioned, we've set up a USGA site visit. The agronomists come out and just like we did in 2023, that report is still available on our website. So if you wanted to look at that, if you haven't seen that, and then as soon as we get a new report, we'll replace that with the 2025 report. And we do this every other year, okay? And we look at our current maintenance programs. This year, we're going to go over to Grandview so you can see the results of the project, and then also look at Echo Mesa. We'll talk about future irrigation and turf reduction projects, Stardust, Pebblebrook, and even beyond. And then our turf conversion on number 9 fairway that I talked about earlier, putting in the Tuff. I kind of want him to kind of get in and weigh in on that. And I think that was the last. Well, it's not about. Anyway, that was the last slide in my report. So.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
So Todd, as I remember and understand it, we're going to do a trial on the 9th fairway of a particular kind of grass. And that grass has been used in other golf courses successfully, as I understand, around here.
Right.
So I was asked to ask you a question,
Okay.
which is, if it's been proven in local golf courses that this grass works, why don't we just do the whole course?
Yeah, I think other golf courses maybe don't get as much play as we do, okay? And so, we put a lot of cart traffic out there. So I would hesitate about doing an entire golf course and find out that really didn't work for us. So I'd rather step into it a little bit slow.
So
And just do
it's
one
more
fairway.
of a mechanical issue than a climate issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then the other thing too, we would not overseed that, at least for the first year. You could overseed it beyond that, but you never want to overseed a new turf after the first year of installation. So it would be nice to be able to get away with not having to overseed those fairways. And again, I think just doing one fairway would be a good test. We can get feedback from the residents and the members and see how they like it, and if we're painting it,
Yeah, I think that was part of the genesis of the question, is really and truly, if we went ahead and did the whole course, how much would we ultimately end up in saving overseeding costs?
Yeah, not very much, especially at Echo Mesa with an executive course, because you only oversee the par 4 fairways, so it wouldn't be much. So if this does work and everybody's happy with it, and then when we go to Stardust, I'd certainly put that in the budget as we do the irrigation and turf reduction project over there. And then we just continue that program. I could see this, if it works out for us and it's successful, I could see us doing this on all the golf courses as we do these renovation projects.
Okay, so one other question.
Yes, sir.
What's your opinion of the recovery on Echo Mesa?
Very slow.
Yeah.
And it's getting slower just because of the cold weather we have right now. So I don't want to say we've kind of switched from recovery mode to playability right now. And, the comments that I'm hearing is it's not pretty out there, but it's playable. It doesn't really affect the putt.
I played yesterday, and I would disagree with that.
Okay.
I would disagree with that vehemently.
So,
So,
okay. But the good thing is, we're in January, we're February, we could start greening up the Bermuda, usually the second or third week. All depends on the weather. So I think the Bermuda's going to come back from this, and that's going to help. And then, unfortunately, by the time it recovers, it's going to be time to close April 7th for the project. So what I'm planning on doing, I've already set it up, but as soon as we close for the project, that week I'm going to have somebody come in. We're going to do a deep tine aerification, core aerification, and so whatever's in there, we're going to get it out of there. And then by being closed, there's a lot of things we can do. Heavy watering, fertilizing on a regular basis, and just let the grass grow a little bit. We can raise the height of cut, and they're going to recover. They're going to be fine. But we're just stuck with what we have right now, unfortunately. So,
any additional instances of people doing bad things to the golf courses since then?
no, haven't. Nothing.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Todd, how are they going to go about doing the fairway? They have to strip the grass out first? You going to do stamens or?
Yeah, we're gonna have to spray it out. So we like a glyphosate product, like a Roundup or something, and spray it a couple times to get a good kill on that, and then just skin it down. Okay, we don't have to haul a lot of material out, and then we'll come in and we'll sprig or shoot stolons on that fairway. Yep.
Okay, another question. Over at Deer Valley, there may be at other courses too, but along the ponds, there's these little reflector things.
Yeah.
How do they work and what they're for?
We put those out during overseeding to keep the ducks and the geese away, and it was pretty effective. And we have them on the other golf courses as well. So they've just left them out there. Just I don't want to take them up and then the next day have a bunch of geese and ducks out there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, it's not very effective on number 12T.
Well, that's where we need to move them then. Okay, I'll make note of that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I played Desert Trails the other day, and there was a wounded goose. No, it's not funny. There was a wounded goose on the 18th tee box.
Okay.
And the marshal was coming around telling everybody, hey, just leave it alone. It's wounded we've called Fish and Game. Well, we got up there, the thing was alive, but whatever was wrong with it was pretty serious.
Okay.
And other birds had come up and pecked its eyes out.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. And this thing could hear you, and it was reacting. There's got to be something better than calling Fish and Game and waiting hours for an animal to show up, or for an officer to show up to deal with the animal.
Okay.
So, you guys need to look at something that's a little more rapid response rather than just have that thing lay there for hours and suffer.
Yeah, I certainly don't want that. And,
Okay.
and I don't even know if Game and Fish would come out for something like that. I really don't. I don't think they would.
I don't know if the posse can deal with that, or
Yeah, the way that we treat other injured birds like hawks and owls and stuff like that, we take them over to Fallen Feathers over in Glendale, and they'll nurse them back and take care of them for a while. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's, okay. I will look into that and remind the guys that maybe we ought to look at that program next time that happens. So, all right.
Anyone else? Questions for Pat? Anyone in the audience? We have anything online? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Move on to our next item of business, which is our financial reviews from Mr. Swan.
Good afternoon, Director Rom and committee and community. Happy to present the November year-to-date financial results. I would say word on the street, Pat, was that you did that to Echo so everybody can see what it feels like to play at other courses. I don't. No? Okay. All right. So if we look at the revenue for November year-to-date, run a little bit behind budget. I will say just a quick snapshot into December. We're kind of tracking a little bit behind again in December. I will remind everyone we put a very aggressive budget together this year with 320,000 golf rounds budgeted. We typically don't do that. So although we are running a little light on budget on the revenue side, we're still tracking pretty good, and we'll get into some of what the rounds look like compared to these numbers. But 99,000 off of budget. Looking at the rounds, there was a question earlier about member rounds and non-member rounds. Here's what it looks like through November, and it has fallen off a little bit more in December as in terms of round play compared to prior year. I think we went in the red on non-member rounds as well in December. But still 3,200 or approximately 3,300 rounds behind budget, which explains the unfavorable variance in revenue. If we look compared to prior year, we're ahead of prior year with the golf rate increases. We'll get into what's kind of making that up. But if we look at the rounds compared to prior year, member rounds are down a little over 4,000 and about even on non-member rounds through November. So if we look at the golf card revenue, so these are just the revenue that we amortize monthly from a yearly golf card that we sell. So we're running 37,000 favorable for the year, and you can see which cards are running favorable. All the cards are even except for the unlimited card and the Twilight card year over year, and that makes up that $37,000, approximately $37,000 additional revenue, or 6% increase over prior year. If we look at the greens fees associated with those cards, so when people purchase a card, they still come and pay a greens fee unless they're an unlimited card holder. So obviously, if you're a resident greens fee, you don't have a card, but the Coyote greens fee, Kachina greens fee, and non-member greens fee. The non-member greens fee is kind of carrying the day there, and that is mainly due to the alignment of the public and member guest rates that this committee decided to do last year. So took those rates, and so there was a higher member guest rate increase, and that's kind of carrying the day on this slide. But 3% overall in greens fees increase year over year. So I had a request to see some trending information on this data. So we put these slides into the presentation. You can see kind of how we're trending in 2025 compared to prior year and budget when it comes to our golf fees. And you can see what we've got to hit through the last 7 months of the year. But pretty much right on, again, it speaks to what the slide tells you year to date and then month to month. So we hit in November, we hit our 25 budget, and which was elevated over our prior year. And you can see what months we didn't. And again, what we have to look forward to. Looking at our golf rounds, they kind of go hand in hand, our revenue and our rounds. So you can see how we're performing in terms of rounds. So it gives you some kind of trending information. Obviously, our busiest months are ahead of us. Switching to the expenses, 415,000 favorable. I will say December, that came back a little bit, but in the first look. So, but we're tracking pretty well year over year. The main savings we're experiencing in repairs and maintenance is we did a lot of work last year on a rolling stock, which got pushed a little bit because we didn't have enough mechanics to do all the work that needed to be done on the equipment. So we spent a significant amount of money last year repairing those pieces of rolling stock and doing some of the repairs that needed to be done to them. This year we haven't had those repairs, and so we're kind of seeing a favorability there in the repairs and maintenance area. And then just overall, just savings we're seeing in the expense areas. The landscape maintenance came back. I don't know if you remember last month we talked about a negative variance there due to the chemicals purchase, and we were able to have those swung back the other way in November once we didn't have to purchase those chemicals. So year to date, 25,000 in landscape maintenance. Compared to prior year, pretty good that we're only 50,000 ahead in wages and benefits over prior year. We've had some pretty good savings in our overtime hours, and just overall expenses again are we're staying pretty tight to prior year, which is a testament to all of the work that Todd and Pat have put in terms of efficiencies. But doing pretty good. 12,000 actually favorable over prior year in expenses is pretty awesome.
Question.
So put a couple trending. Oh, sure.
Before you move on, are we expecting another minimum wage increase?
Yes. So the minimum wage increase is coming in at it's 35 cents. So it's matches with inflation, which I think was 2.4%.
Okay.
Increase. Yeah. So looking at the wages and benefits for the year and what's been budgeted and what's happened in previous years, you can see how we're kind of tracking along with that at this point. And then when you look at all other expenses, the green line, you can see the dip in November. That's mainly due, the spike in the dip is mainly due to those chemical purchases that we talked about earlier. So overall, income from operations, pretty good at 316,000 favorable. And, on the expense side, we'll see if those savings will hold throughout the year. A lot of that's just kind of timing and when things get repaired or work gets done on the course. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and track it. But most of that expense savings is going to continue throughout the year. We will see some ebbs and flows, but pretty good job on the expense side. And then on the revenue side, we're getting ready to make some hay here in the next few months. So we'll see what happens with that. And then compared to prior year, 113,000 favorable overall. And that concludes the financial presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions from the committee? Anyone in the audience, questions for Cliff? Anything online? Okay, thank you.
Can I give a little
Sure.
teaser for the next coming meetings? We'll be talking about golf rate comparisons with some local courses, the surrounding courses, as we prepare for the budget. So we're going to be preparing for our operating budget. So we want to have those conversations in February. So we'll talk about that. And as well as in March, we'll have your first presentation of what we're thinking in terms of rates and a budget for the golf division. So that's to come. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. That completes that, and now we'll introduce our new committee member, Mr. Eichner, if you'd like to give us a few words about yourself.
Yes, David Eichner. I'm, I think 13-year resident, and got my first rec card almost 13 years ago. I've been quite involved in the golfing side of the community, past president of Pebblebrook Men's Group, serve on the golf council, involved in one of the group plays, and then as our last meeting, which I wasn't here, as Tom Wogemuth made reference to, I'm also a USGA rules official and work 10, 15 days a year out on the courses doing rules officiating. So as Tom's requested, if you have rules questions, I think he wants those coming to me now instead of him. So, and serve on Pat's Sun City West Golf Rules Committee. So I worked with Tom in putting together the no play zone rule at Grandview, and I'm a retired banker, so I'll have some financial questions for you next time. So, any questions of me? Thank you.
Oh, welcome very much. Welcome to you, and glad to have you here. 4.02, we have a working group. Unfortunately, with the holidays, the group did not meet during December. I understand the group is looking to schedule a meeting for next Tuesday, possibly.
If we can get consensus from everybody that's involved, Pat, can we meet at, in your office? Kathy? David? Okay.
Would it be a morning?
It could be. Okay, say 10 o'clock? Okay. I'll tell Karen to set that meeting up.
Okay, we look forward to you meeting and working with the group play issue. So moving on to 4.03, we're going to take a look at all of our capital items for next year, and that's going to be both Mr. O'Hara and Mr. Patty, unless one of you just wants to present it all.
All right, we're just, today we're going to go over the 25-26 proposed capital budget, and we're just focused on the golf portion of that today. There's a lot more in it, but we're just going to talk about golf today. Here you see the different colored sections. These are different divisions. Again, the green one pertains to golf maintenance and golf operations, which we're going to talk about today. At the governing board workshop tomorrow morning, you'll see all of this information in detail, the entire capital budget for 25-26. There we go. All right, and again, you can see this is the entire budget that we're proposing: new capital, repair and replacement for the recreation side, repair and replacement golf and landscape, and then the allowances for the unexpected. And again, this will be proposed tomorrow at the governing board workshop. So the total 25-26 proposed capital, we're looking at $5.4 million. All right, so we'll get right into golf course maintenance, the capital improvement projects for golf maintenance. We have phase one of the Stardust and Turf Reduction, Irrigation and Turf Reduction Project for $236,000. We're proposing to start that in July of 2025. This is similar to what we've done at Grandview and also at Echo Mesa. It's the mapping, it's the GPSing, it's marking the turf lines. Also, a new pump station will be involved in that for $300,000. And then we have a shoreline repair or hardscape, again, similar to the projects that we've done in the past with either the riprap or a split face block wall application. We're looking at Deer Valley, hole number 18, of repairing that shoreline over there for $285,000, and then Desert Trails, holes number 14 and 18. We'd like to do some work on those two shorelines, and that would start in June of 2026. Cart pass slurry seal scheduled for Echo Mesa for $75,000. This would be in September after the irrigation and turf reduction project has all been completed. All right. Onto our equipment replacement plan. We do this every year. We evaluate all of our equipment, and this is all listed on the reserve study. So this year, we're looking at 22 units scheduled for replacement. The average age is about 18 years of the equipment that we're replacing. That ranges from 10 to 31 years. Total replacement cost is $826,364, or if you break that out, it's about $118,000 per golf course. It is, we're looking at about a 4.5% increase over last year. And then 4 units were deferred. Again, we go through that list every year, and if it's on the reserve study, we take a look at it. If it can be pushed out to the next year or even beyond, we'll certainly do that. And what determines that is that if we'll look at the history of repair on that equipment. If it's out and running, it's cutting good, very little downtime in the shop, and we haven't put much money into it in the past year, then we're just going to roll that into next year too. So it still remains on the reserve study. It's just pushed out. So that's 2 greens mowers that we deferred, and an aerification for greens and fairways, 2 of those aerifiers that we pushed out. And then our utility vehicle replacement, again, it's all on the reserve study. Excuse me, what was it mean? 7 units are scheduled for replacement this upcoming year. Average age over 12 years, and they range from 12 to 15 years. Total replacement cost at $164,000. And again, on those units, we're looking at a 4.5% increase over last year. 6 units we deferred this year: 4 utility carts, 1 dump truck, and a pickup truck that we've moved out. They're still on a reserve study, but we just moved them into other years. And I'm going to turn it over to Pat. He's got some items on this capital list that he's going to talk about. So there you go.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
All right, I just have a few items here. We've been really good about trying to get our cart fleet current. It wasn't that many years ago that our average age was somewhere between 12 and 15 years of age. We're requesting the replacement of 30 carts this year, and the reason for 30, because in the past we've been doing 20. If we go 30, we don't have to do this the following fiscal, and that would be at a time when Todd's doing the Stardust, and so you'd have a high expense in the turf and irrigation, and we're thinking that if we can get all 30 done in this year, we've spread it out so it's a little bit more even as far as the expense. So 30 golf carts, and then I've got at each golf course I have a janitorial cart. It's as we all know, we've got restrooms out on the golf course. As you can see from the description here, my average age is 18 years. I've got one that's 25, and we're trying to get those so that we're not spending good money after bad, keeping these repaired and running. Have to have lights, have to be able to get to and back to the golf course, to the clubhouse after dark. So we just want to make sure that we have something that our employees can use. And then I have one PA cart that needs to be replaced. This one, believe it or not, was an old Posse cart that we bought used in, I want to say it was about 2015. And so we're going to finally try to replace that as well. So once we get that taken care of, my utility carts and my cart fleet is in really good shape. It's going to be really close to being complete. So we're excited about that. And I believe that's it.
Okay, let's see, first with Vanessa.
I don't see on there anywhere for, which we had discussed a few meetings ago, ball machine reallocation.
Right. So tying those into the parking lot being resurfaced, and I'll get with Carl on that to see what that looks like. You don't know that off the top. Well, no, we won't be looking for Carl for that. We'll review that and see where we are with that. But we'll tie it in with the resurfacing. Absolutely. And we've had discussions on that, so.
Mr. Hurley.
Yes. For the new capital item, robotic driving range floor mower, is that a ball picker or?
Actually, it could be both. They have one, it's all in one unit. I wasn't looking at that one, but they have one that actually picks up the range balls and mows, and that's during the evening hours. And I think it mows like an acre per hour, or maybe not even that much, but it's only like 4 feet in wide cut that it has on that. But that's something that I've been talking about that for a while, and so I was looking at that, and they're not really that expensive. They're under $15,000.
So does that operate by GPS?
Yes. Yep. So it would be housed. I was thinking of putting one over there at Echo Mesa behind the range. It would be housed over there, and we'll set that up, and we'll mow the range floor while we're at home sleeping and come in. Hopefully the mower's still there the next day when we come in. So.
Anyone else? Mr. Miller?
So I'm a little slow today, Pat. So what's the average cost of the 30 golf carts?
Golf cart's about $6,400 to $6,500
So just,
for a fleet car.
yeah, just going back and doing rough calculations while you were presenting and looking at the revenue per year per golf cart. And we're making $300,000 to $400,000 a year renting golf carts, and we're paying $6,500 a piece for them. And I think the community needs to appreciate really and truly how much revenue that brings in to help support the golf courses.
You know, every once in a while it comes up, why don't we lease 150 golf carts and trade them out every 3 years? And we've been very fortunate to have some people be able to maintain these carts. And again, a little history, it wasn't that many years ago that Todd's Mechanics repaired our golf carts. And sometimes there was a little bit of a downside to that, because if it's between a mower and a golf cart, the mower was getting fixed. And that's not saying bad things about Todd's group, that's just the way it is. So we were able to locate a part-time mechanic, got him at a good price, able to keep them up and running. And I appreciate you saying that, because we're able to keep those carts, 6, 8, 10 years and make some money off of them.
Well, one of the things, going back to when I was on budget and finance, I always look at things from a perspective of cost centers, okay? And the golf carts are a cost center and a profit center. And so when we talk about, okay, we pay costs, we have operating costs in terms of gas and maintenance, it would be interesting at some point in time to say, really and truly, how much money are we clearing from the point of view of we're having to pay for gas, we're having to pay for a mechanic, we're having to do whatever. So really and truly, how much is the golf cart contributing? And I bring that up simply from the perspective that it helps us to better understand really and truly how our rates are set. So.
Anyone else on the committee? Any questions, comments? Anyone in the audience? Yes, sir.
Dennis Hansel, 111074. Pat, this question is for you. Yes. We're replacing 30 carts. As I understand it, there's someone that's willing to buy the carts we're getting rid of.
Yes.
And my question perhaps for Cliff is, where does that money go?
Good question. So that money goes to the gain on sale because these carts are fully depreciated. So when we dispose of those carts on the books, those will get applied to offset the. It'll go in as income essentially down in the capital section on gain on sale.
I'm not talking about the accounting. I'm talking about, does it go to the reserve fund?
Yes, it's a cash inflow. It goes to the reserve fund.
And Pat, are we still working with only one vendor who buys the carts?
No, we actually have two, but one that's been very consistent over the last 3 years or so.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? We have no questions online, so I will start with Kathy. Any comments?
This is just a general comment. This is the second year I've served on this committee, and I was on budget and finance prior to this. And I feel we're missing the future. We, as a committee, we really haven't had an opportunity to brainstorm on what should we look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now in the golf course community, the people that use the courses. Do we need to have some opportunities, and I don't want them to be complaint sessions, but more focus groups that give us just a myriad of ideas, good, bad, and ugly. They're going to come in that way, I'm sure. But I feel as a member of this committee that I'm just sitting here checking that box and moving on, and really having an opportunity to listen to our community and hear what their vision is for the golf courses. Of course, I can only speak for this committee because I'm on the golf committee. So I don't know what that looks like, how we do that, how much we're encumbered or not encumbered, to have some really good brainstorming sessions. And that's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron?
Because I haven't had the opportunity to tweak Cliff yet today. When you guys, you don't even have to get up, okay? I can tweak you from afar. So when you guys, you and Pat, come back next month with the suggested beginning of the discussion on the golf rates, and we look at the comparative rates, can you provide the committee the basis for selecting the courses that you're doing the comparison with? Okay.
No comment.
Vanessa? Yeah. David? Julie? Anyone in the audience? Any final comments you'd like to add? I really don't have anything to add. I will get with Kathy and see what thoughts you have as to how we could better get inputs and take a look at where we need to go in the future.
I appreciate that, because I kind of feel like every idea you come up with, you can't do, I mean, publicly, that our hands are way too tied to really have the freedom to think out of the box a little bit. So I'll be happy, and anybody else, if you feel the same way. If you don't, fine, I'm a minority of one then. Thank you.
That's a good point, because really this committee is not here as a discussion session per se, so it's not a brainstorming time. So, Mr. Miller.
Is that a place that the golf council would be better suited to do that? David, you're on the council.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. And we have all of the presidents of all the clubs. I think there's like 19 of them out there that to get together, and maybe that's something. And I'll talk to Jim Anderson, the president, to see if, because we actually have a session coming up, I believe, in March, where we're bringing in, having roundtable discussions on different topics. And so maybe we can talk about that some and get some ideas, because those are the people who are gonna be the ones that are serious about wanting to know what the courses are gonna look like in 5 or 10 years. And I'd be one of those. 15, I don't know, I probably won't be playing at 15, but.
Yeah, so is that golf council? I don't know who to ask
Only
this question.
leagues, only leagues.
It's only leagues, well,
So
it's at
I
least,
would not be in that.
it's at least a start. But
Yeah, no, I
guess-
agree with you.
Yeah, I guess the question I would ask is, are they governed by the open meeting laws, the golf council? Okay, so they're not governed by the open meeting laws like we are, so there's less of a restriction in terms of how freewheeling you could get. And I would think, even though you're not in a league, Kathy, I would think as a member of the committee, you would be welcome to show up at the golf council. So.
Okay, with that, we have no comments online. Our next meeting will be February 6th, 1:30, right here. And leaves us about 5 minutes to get over to Stardust. Is that correct? And thank you for coming.